The theme for Youth Month 2021 is Evolve. We know that Jamaica's youth are innovative and revolutionary and are best placed to transform Jamaica from what it was pre-COVID to now into a better, new Jamaica. We have a jam-packed series of events this month where we expect young people from across the island to come out and make their voices heard, showing their evolutionary thinking and their evolutionary actions.
Evolve Youths of Jamaica. My name is Yannick Tracy, the co-chair of the Youth Advisory Council of Jamaica. Youths of our nation, let's evolve our mindset so we know that we can be the best versions of ourselves. We are the author and the finisher of our own success. So, if it's that new job you need to get, go get it. If it's to start a new business, just do it. If it's to further your own education, youths, let's make it happen. Let's strive to be great. Let's strive to evolve.
Hi Jamaica, my name is Daniel Jordan Bailey, representing the National Secondary Students Council as the Region 1 Assistant Vice President. For 2021's Youth Month, I want to see more inclusivity, youths from all walks of Jamaica engaging in virtual activities aimed at enhancing their purpose. Moreover, when I think of the word evolve, I think of metamorphosing, emerging from one stage to another while fulfilling your dream. This can be done by looking towards a certain passion or even fulfilling a certain goal. We can evolve.
Hello Jamaica, my name is Siobhan Smith and I'm the General Secretary of the Jamaica Prefects Association. The Jamaica Prefects Association, or otherwise called the JPA, is the national governing body that represents prefects, including head students of secondary schools in Jamaica. This year's Youth Month theme is Evolve, which simply means to gradually improve and become better. I implore you all to grow and evolve in your own right and shine in your own light. Happy Youth Month, Jamaica. Stay safe.
Growing up, we would have been told that the only thing in life that is constant is change. And for that reason, I am particularly impressed that the theme for this month is Evolve. If we are to cope with the realities that we're now facing, we must evolve.
My name is Nevada Green. I'm a part of the National Youth Council of Jamaica. The NYCJ is the umbrella organization for all youth clubs across Jamaica, which seeks to promote youth participation in all community levels and advocate for youth participation in all levels of governance. We here at the NYCJ will be doing for our Youth Month our annual general meeting, which involves all community-based organizations and all parish executives, where we come together with our problems and find solutions for them. What we want for this Youth Month is for us all to evolve. We are called to evolve this Youth Month, regardless of what challenges the COVID-19 pandemic presents us with. So we're going to press through to ensure that all youth voices are heard this month.
Hello youths of Jamaica, I am Orville Levy, co-chairperson of the Youth Advisory Council of Jamaica. Youth Month theme 2021, Evolve. One word with such powerful roots that if we water it, it can blossom our collective futures. As a council, we have been working to mainstream youth issues into youth policies and ensuring every youth has a voice through our youth parliamentarians. We are at a pivotal time in our lives. This is your opportunity. Take the moment. Your evolution begins today.
We're asking young people for Youth Month 2021, you need to participate. Come and show us your evolved thinking, your revolutionary ideas and your innovative actions. Let us demonstrate to the rest of the country that Jamaica's youth are evolved and can make Jamaica better than what it was before COVID. Young people of Jamaica, let us evolve.
Welcome to week 2 of the National Youth Month initiatives, and for this week, well, for tonight, we'll be talking all about the vax. Now, I have a fun fact for you before we start. Did you know that the 2021 word of the year is vax? Yes, it was determined by Oxford English Dictionary, and we just being a part of this forum is contributing to the number of times that word is being used for this year. Now, I'm joined by some very esteemed gentlemen tonight and a few other panelists on our Zoom, and we're going to be talking all about the vax. We're going to be talking about what exactly is a vaccine. We're going to be talking about some of the myths, what vaccinations are and what they are not, and of course, we'll be giving some advice as to why it's important to get vaccinated. How is everybody doing? Good? Nice. All right, so we're going to be starting with Dr. Melanie Ennis. Dr. Melanie Ennis. She's joining us on Zoom, and she's going to be talking to us from the medical perspective on vaccinations and immunizations. How are you doing, Dr. Ennis? All right, not hearing Dr. Ennis at this time, but Dr. Ennis represents, she is the Director of Family Health Services, and she represents the Ministry of Health and Wellness. How are you doing, Dr. Ennis?
Fine, how are you?
I am doing good. Well, it's a pleasure to have you here, and we know this is a very important forum. We are in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic, and the vaccinations are here, and we know that this is one of the ways that we will get out of this pandemic together. So what I want you to do for us tonight is to tell us a little bit about what exactly is a vaccine, and why is it important to get vaccinated?
So vaccines they're really just medicines, but they have a special purpose. They really stimulate our bodies to generate what we call antibodies or germ-fighting tools that actually keep us well. And vaccines have a long history. Over 200 years we have been using vaccines. It started way back with smallpox. It was found that if persons were exposed to cowpox, then they didn't get that full-blown disease of smallpox. And they did some studies and found that if their cells were sensitized or primed with this cowpox, then it would prevent the smallpox that was so devastating at the time. The process continued, the development, the advances, and voila, we came up with something that could actually prime the body, tell our bodies that if you see something looking like this, it is foreign and you need to fight against it. That is pretty much what vaccines do.
All right, thank you, Dr. Ennis. And for what we know, or rather for what I know, we know that vaccinations have been a part of our culture for a while, right? It's not something overnight. It's not the first we're hearing about it. So tell us a little bit about the history of immunization in Jamaica. Is it something that, is new? What is it?
Wow, it's not new. The thing about it is that we have all been vaccinated as children. It is routine. It became law way back. It was amended in 2013. It came into law in about 1986. So we were vaccinating before because there are many vaccine preventable diseases such as polio, measles, mumps, rubella, tetanus. We don't even know what those things are anymore. That's because vaccines have worked so well. We have logged on to the business of taking vaccines in this country for so long. We can't go to school without it. So we have at least 10 vaccine preventable diseases that all our children from birth. So let's go back. Day one, birth. We get what? The first vaccine, BCG, at birth. And that is followed quickly at 6 weeks when we get that suite of other vaccines to protect us. And that goes on until we are about 6 years old when we get in our little cards fully vaccinated against those illnesses. So it has been a part of us for so long. Routine. Parents know that it's automatic. You must come to the well clinics. Your child must get vaccinated because that's what keeps us safe.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Ennis. Now I'm going to move over to my panelists here, and I'll start with Honorable Robert Nestor Morgan, and he's the Minister of State in the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information. How are you doing?
I'm well.
Good. I am doing good as well, and I love to see you in the video, of course, advocating for the youth. Evolve is the theme this year. Tell me a little bit about Evolve.
Well, as Dr. Ennis would tell you, Corona has really been a challenge for us as a society and also for young people. And last year, as I said earlier, before this forum, we decided to rethink our position within the society in order to prepare ourselves to become a different type of youth in Jamaica post-COVID. And now that we're seeing the glimmer, we're seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. We have the vaccines. A lot of young people are taking the vaccines. A lot of our students are taking the vaccine. We want us to evolve our thinking to take advantage of the immense opportunities that are going to come after COVID leaves. The economy is changing, the whole world is changing. We'll not be going back to what we were before. Virtual learning is something that is going to be with us for a very long time. Right. Zoom meetings are going to be with us for a very long time. It's not going to change. So there are a lot of opportunities that young people can take advantage of, but they have to change their mindset in order to take advantage of them.
Nice. Well, I love that. Evolve and evolve your mindset. That's an important part of it. As it relates to your interaction with stakeholders, so for example, the youth, what is the feedback like? What do you know, when you interact with them and you talk about vaccines and vaccination, what kind of feedback do you get?
It's mixed, to be honest. I mean, the youth are representative of the wider society. The same things that impact the society impacts them. There are many young people out there who want to take the vaccine. When you noticed when the Pfizer was offered to them, a lot of them came out and took it. Yes. But there's still some that need a little bit more convincing. And there's still some parents who need a little bit more convincing. So what we have to continue doing is continue to educate people about the safety of the vaccines, the quality of the vaccines, and the professionalism of the people. And to a greater extent, vaccination will bring us back to normal quicker than any other tool that we have. That's right. And I think once that message resonates nationally with our young people and our parents and so on, and we're able to send out factual information that is effective, then we will see significant changes in people's behavior towards it.
Nice. Thank you so much. Dr. Ennis, back to you really quick, because Minister Morgan mentioned something about the rate of vaccine uptake amongst the young people. Do you have the statistics to state how many young persons are now fully vaccinated, or at least have at least received one dose?
Well, between the ages of 12 and 18, we are over 98,000 young persons receiving at least one jab of the COVID-19 vaccine. And primarily, of course, that would be the Pfizer vaccine that was offered to them.
And over 98,000 represents what percentage?
It's a small percentage because we have in that 12 to 18 group, we have about 354,000 students. So it would be that 98,000 over 354. Who is the math brain on the panel? Minister, is that you?
It's about 30%.
Yes.
There you go.
Okay. Thank you, Dr.
So we do have a ways to go, yes. But we are now opening up Pfizer for first dose. That started today. So our young persons 12 to 18 certainly can come out and get their first dose.
Excellent, excellent. That's good. So going back to you, Minister Morgan, the education sector we know has been significantly inconvenienced due to the COVID-19 pandemic. What do you think? Do you think people are, excited about returning to face-to-face classes, or do you think they're still now comfortable with the online learning or virtual learning?
I think that a majority of people want schools to open. I mean, us here at the ministry, we're dying for schools to open, yes. Because we recognize the significant challenges that our young people have faced. A disconnection from the education system is not just a disconnection from the education system, it's also a disconnection from the young people's society, their clubs, their groups, their friends, their extracurricular activities, their JCDC, their football competition. I know the Costa Cup is starting, which we're not able to have previously. So we want schools to open, but there are still things that we need to do to make sure that it's safe. So we are not going to be able to open schools unless the Ministry of Health approves it.
Which is right.
So we've started with about 300 and odd primary and infant schools. I think today we got over 200 of them were able to open. Nice. But that's out of 700. Oh. And then we have another, overall our public school system is about 1,000. So we have a very far way to go. Yes. But we have to be very careful how we do it, because we do not want. Our schools have been very safe. When we did the risk ranking approach last year and we were able to do some face-to-face, we never had any significant challenges with COVID. And we do not want our schools to become centers of COVID spread. Yes. So we have to work with the health inspectors, we have to work with the Ministry of Health, we have to work with our regions to make sure that whenever we do open, which we are working hard to do, that is very safe for the students and the persons who work in the system. Okay, and what about the teachers? How are the teachers responding to the call for them to get vaccinated so they create a safe space for students? I think a lot of teachers want to be vaccinated. There are still some of them, we have to be frank, there's still a lot of them who have questions that need to be answered. I know that the stakeholders support vaccination. The Jamaica Teachers Association supports it. The Principals Association supports it. They support it. We support it. The Ministry of Health supports it. So if we continue to work with our stakeholders, I think that over time, as they recognize the importance of it, I think more of them will do it. I think a large number of them have, but we still would like some more.
Some more. Good. All right. I saw Dr. Cassandra pop up. Is she here with us? And while she sets up, Dr. Ennis, back to you really quick. In terms of the teachers, how many of the teachers are actually vaccinated or have at least received one dose of the COVID-19 vaccine? I know I asked about the students earlier.
So if you give me one moment, I am trying to pull up that figure so we have the most accurate data.
Okay, no problem. Well, at this time, I'll invite everyone to, leave your comments in the chat. We are on PBCJ via YouTube, and we're also on our social media pages, MOEYI Jamaica. So please engage with us. I'll be feeding you questions later down for the question and answer segment. But, take this opportunity to send your questions, engage in the discussion, and just leave a comment if you feel like you want to be a part of the discussion. I'll also take the opportunity to pick up some of our sponsors. Those who helped make this possible is the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information, the Ministry of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sports, the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, Heart NSTA Trust, PAP, Proven JA, JN Group, DIA, ILE, and PA Benjamin's Manufacturing Company. Thank you all for making it possible. All right, I see Dr. Troop joining us. How are you? Okay, I'm not hearing you so clearly. It seems you may be muted.
Are you hearing me?
Yes, I'm hearing you now. Good. How are you doing?
Thank you on the panelists and good evening to the listeners.
Yes, good evening. How are you doing today?
I am very good. Listening and getting excited as to the discussion.
Nice, love that. Well, we are talking about the education sector and the vaccine. And Minister Morgan was telling me a little bit about what he, felt from the students and from the teachers as it relates to whether or not they want to get vaccinated and the feedback for face-to-face classes. But I'd like you to tell me what it is like on your end, being, a little bit in charge of all that.
Well, as Minister said earlier, the sector, we are dying to get back. Here at the Ministry of Education, this is what we want. We know this is a preferred mode of learning engagement for our students. It's the most proven method that was worked over the years, and so we are anxious to get back. And just today, we started another phase of the reopening process. Initially, we granted permission for the infant schools to be out, and we also granted permission for limited interaction for our secondary school to treat with some time-bound activities like their SBAs and so forth. And today, we started the integration of a subset of our primary schools. We had approved 376 of those schools, and we had 248 of those schools opening today. And we got reports with a sense of excitement coming through the system. Children are happy, and we got some pictures just to show, how receptive the principals were, or ready they were. And I must indicate that all of these schools that opened today were assessed by the Ministry of Health, by their health inspectors, and they're all approved as COVID compliant. So we are working with the ministry to get our students safely back into the learning environment.
Nice. And I love the passion that you speak with. You sound very excited about the move. I love that. And, it's really fitting because we really need that kind of energy to push the process. We need persons to get vaccinated. We need our young people to be back in the schools and, back in that face-to-face interaction. So thank you so much for leading with such, passion and drive. I love that. All right. So I'm going to bring in a little of the young voices in. I have Mr. Taylor here with me. You are from the National Youth Advisory Council. And I want you to tell me now, from the youth perspective, given that, we heard from our Youth at Heart perspective, I want to hear from your perspective, having worked directly with the young people, what are you getting on the ground?
All right, so again, good evening, thanks for having me. All right, so it's Orville Levy, by the way.
So I'm so sorry.
I always get mixed up with,
I apologize.
Orville Taylor
Mr.
and RJR.
Orville Levy, I do
Respect
apologize.
you. But yes, from the youth perspective, I think a lot of young persons really want to get vaccinated.
Yes.
I think most of our young people, based on the discussions that we've been having, are not anti-vaxxer. They're mainly vaccine hesitant, and that's because of the information that is out there. Some of the information, yes, I think they need to do their bit of research, but some of the persons that they really know and trust and have that sort of lasting relationship with are skeptical of the vaccine, and so there is that approach. Then there are other young persons who still live under their parents' roof, and based on our religious background, some parents is like, not under my roof, and so it's a decision that they have to weigh from that perspective sometimes. So there are different approaches that young persons have been having to take when it comes down to whether or not they're ready to get vaccinated, etc. But from the wide variety of discussions that we've had, it's mainly vaccine hesitancy as opposed to being anti-vaxxers. But we do have a lot of young persons who have been getting vaccinated over the last few months.
Okay, good. And with regards to the persons who are vaccinated, I know a lot of persons are kind of worried about the reactions and all of that. Have you ever heard any stories about any adverse reactions?
No. We all heard the rumors going around, that is out there, about, impotence and all those stuff. And jokingly, one of my coworkers said to me the other day, when I see one of my friends have a youth out there, after that, that's when I'll take the vaccine. And, there are these are the things that they'd say. And, sometimes my pushback would be, but you took other vaccines and, your parents before you, all of that, they've had children, etc. And there have been persons who, pregnant mothers and so forth, who have had healthy babies, no incident, no occurrence of any deaths or no tail coming out the round back or anything like that. So, it goes to show that the vaccine in and of itself is safe. From the discussions we've had, no adverse, just a general side effects, that persons will have the little fever. Some persons might, experience a little swelling where the injection point is. But, just the general stuff, and, take a paracetamol after a day or two, it generally clears up.
Good. Mr. Hyman is also here with us. Thank you, Mr. Levy. And Javon Hyman, he is the Vice President for Region 1 of the National Secondary Students Council. Mr. Hyman, are you here?
Yes, I am. Good evening.
All right, good. All right, so you can turn on your camera so the world can see your face. Right, so I want you to tell me now. So we heard from Mr. Levy, and I want you to tell me now from the student's perspective, because you were actually in the school system, and you probably may have been impacted by, the whole examination process being changed as a result of COVID-19. What is it like for you as students now during the pandemic?
Well, what it's like for us now, the truth of the matter is that we also want this pandemic to come to an end. We also long to go back to face-to-face school, right? We're happy for the bits of integration that we've been getting, but right now we're trying to make do. We understand that no major drastic change can happen where we all go back. So we are accepting our reality and trying to better adapt to the virtual space this time around. So that really is the case. And I'll also like to expound or agree with what the minister said earlier in regards to the reaction being mixed, right? Because a major thing for the youth right now is trust, right? There's the government that's imploring taking the vaccines, but there's also social media that's telling our youth a myriad of other things, right? So right now our main goal would be to reel in those other people who are in doubt, to ensure, to let them know that this is the right decision despite whatever they're saying on social media.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Hyman. So we're going to break now for the playing of a video. And this video comes from the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information Youth Vaccination Campaign.
I'm Robert Nestor Morgan, Minister of State in the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information here at the St. Joseph's Hospital, where they're having a blitz. I'm actually here to encourage all Jamaicans, including our young people, to get vaccinated, as it is the best way to protect you, your family, your community, and Jamaica from the devastating effects of the COVID-19 virus. The Jamaica Union of Tertiary Students, the Youth Advisory Council of Jamaica, the Prefects Association, and several other youth groups have come together to join in the call to get all Jamaicans vaccinated, especially our young people. It is important that our young people between the ages of 12 and 18 and those going to the university get vaccinated, as this will present a safe environment for us to continue face-to-face education going forward. So I'm encouraging you, all Jamaicans, young people all across the country, get vaccinated.
All right, so that was a video there from the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information. That's the Youth Vaccination Campaign. Now we have the Honorable Minister Nestor Morgan, introduced prior, Minister of State for the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information. And he has some information to tell us about the campaign.
So the ministry is about to embark on assisting the Ministry of Health in getting first doses. The last time we did this, we had a whole jingle running on radio. We had our schools were involved. Our schools were also centers for vaccination. And we really just pulled the ministry together. We had ads on television. We have to give thanks to Dr. Alfred Dawes, who was one of the voices that really was helping to push our vaccination message. And we're also in the communities through our community groups, and our youth were also a part of it as well. The Youth Advisory Council played a role in it. The National Student Council played a role in it. JUTS played a role in it. And now that we're going again out, because we now have the Pfizer, we're going to try and expand that campaign to reach more people, to convince more people, so we can get that 60% that we need to open high schools. And I think if we all work together, we can achieve it.
Nice. I think so too. And we know, as I mentioned, we have the youth voices here with us. But Dr. True, what are some of the initiatives that the ministry is, actually engaged in? What are some of the, are you setting up different vaccination sites in the schools, like the ministry itself? What kind of underground work is being done by the ministry to help aid this campaign?
As Minister said earlier, we are working with the Ministry of Health to ensure that we can create opportunities for our students to be vaccinated. So here in the Ministry of Education, we develop what we call a vaccination quality assurance framework in collaboration with the Ministry of Health to guide our school leaders in setting up blitz at the school level. Under this framework, certain schools will operate as fixed sites. So these are major sites with facilities in place. They will host satellite schools that are very small and in close proximity, for those schools also to take their children over in that setting to be vaccinated. So right now as we speak, schools are organizing. Students are pre-registering those who have not been vaccinated already. They are pre-registering. Schools will create groups of students in different year groups, similar to what we would have experienced in the past. Dr. Ennis referenced earlier to vaccination not being new in our school system. So we are creating the model to replicate that at this point in time, where sites will be in our schools, students will be grouped according to classes, and we will have the health professionals working with us to vaccinate these students. So massive planning taking place now. We were awaiting the cabinet approval. I think Dr. Ennis alluded earlier that we have the approval, and these first dose will be rolling out as of tomorrow within some of our schools, and we continue to do so in collaboration with the Ministry of Health.
All right, thank you, Dr. Troop. And Dr. Ennis, can you tell me a little bit about how you'll make this process a little more innovative? Will you be using the school nurses, a little bit of the community health aides? What kind of innovative process will you use to not just let it look like another vaccination blitz?
All right, so let me give you those numbers that I had promised you.
Yes,
so our teachers not doing too badly. And remember now, when I give you these numbers, it's not just teachers, but persons within that school setting. So it would include our administrators, of course. So we are at about just over 19,000 persons would have received the first dose, and about 15,000 plus would have received the second dose. So in all, about 36,000 teachers, administrators, persons working within the school system have been vaccinated. And our numbers is a little better for our children. It's moved up from 96,000 to 99,000. So we're getting there slowly but surely. Now, with respect to rolling out of the blitz activities at schools, it's a all hands on deck innovation. We're really just calling out, we're asking the schools if they can call out their doctors and nurses, past students, to come out and assist. The parents as registration personnel, secretaries, call out your school, come out and assist us in this process. Outside of that, of course, we will have our routine persons coming in, but let's make it a family affair with past students, the PTA coming out to get our students vaccinated.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ennis. So you heard her, it's all hands on deck because everybody needs to be a part of this process. So we're going officially now into the vaccination and the youth segment, and I'm calling for another video from the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information, Youth Vaccination Campaign, and this is from the youth perspective.
Hi, I am Orville Levy.
And I'm Yannick Tracy.
And we are the co-chairpersons of the National Youth Advisory Council of Jamaica.
And we're here today to launch our initiative.
Today, we've invited the leaders of the major youth programs across the island and also the Minister of State in the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information, the Honorable Robert Nesta Morgan, to throw his support behind this campaign. The aim of this campaign is to dispel myth and to encourage our fellow youth leaders and youth at large to get vaccinated so we can get back to some semblance of normalcy.
Hi, my name is Saran French, the Region 1 Vice President of the Jamaica Prefects Association. I am here to join the fight against COVID-19. I encourage all my fellow young people to get vaccinated.
Hi Jamaica, my name is Siobhan Smith, the General Secretary of the Jamaica Prefects Association. I'm here today at the St. Joseph's Hospital to get my COVID-19 vaccine to help in the fight against COVID-19. I implore all youth to do the same. Join the fight and get vaccinated.
Hi, I'm Siobhan Brown, Chairperson of the National Youth Council of Jamaica. Let's get back to normal life. Get out, get vaccinated. Let's end COVID-19 together.
My fellow students and young people of Jamaica, I am Christina Williams, President of the Jamaica Union of Tertiary Students. And today, I am appealing to you. If it's possible, please make that decision to be vaccinated. Even though for the most part we're physically distanced, we're also socially distanced. We're unable to talk to our friends as we used to. We're able to go into school and be in the classroom, and we're seeing how that's affecting us, both academically and socially. So if we want to get back to any modicum of normalcy as we had prior to COVID-19, we have to make that collaborative decision to protect ourselves and others around us. Let's make the decision together to vaccinate, to mask, to sanitize, and to follow all the other protocols set by the government.
Let's get vaccinated. Let's get back to normal.
Right, so you heard it from the youth themselves. Let's get vaccinated, let's get back to life. So that was the video there from the youth perspective of the National Youth Vaccination Campaign. So Mr. Levy, right, from the National Youth Advisory Council of Jamaica, tell me a bit about the campaign and what the youth have been doing a part of the campaign.
All right, so in a sense, we've been trying to utilize our youth parliamentarians for perspective for those who don't know about Youth Advisory Council. So separate and apart from trying to mainstream youth policies, youth issues into policies, we also have oversight of the National Youth Parliament of Jamaica. So we are some of the key youth players in terms of helping the ministry to coordinate where that's concerned. And our youth parliamentarians are essentially the persons that are on the ground, that are interacting face-to-face with unattached youth from community-based youth organizations. And in essence, what we try to do is to empower them to also encourage other young persons within the community, because a familiar voice that you're speaking to in the community is easier to accept and acquiesce, as opposed to some strange person who you feel like is trying to just force down your throat to just get vaccinated. And so the young persons have been doing their best to encourage their fellow young persons to get vaccinated. And talking about some of the peripheral issues that arise as a result of us being so socially distant, as Christina would have alluded to earlier, because oftentimes we don't think about the mental and socioeconomic impact that this virus has had on the young persons, and a lot of our young persons are very much aware of this, and they're trying to encourage other young persons of how it is that they can kind of push that message forward so we can get back to life.
Right, but just to stray a little bit, other than just encouraging vaccinations, you mentioned rather the mental impact. Have you guys been doing anything in particular to address that issue?
All right, so we have tried to do different sessions to kind of talk to young persons, etc. However, we're working on a campaign right now, well, more so a forum, to see how best we can be a little bit more solution-oriented. So we'll be bringing suggestions in writing format, whether it be a policy brief, etc., to minister as to the way forward. This will be happening on the 28th of this month, so it's just before the date of Youth Parliament. So I'd urge all young persons, log in. If you don't know what's happening, there's a Youth Month calendar, right? So that's one of the events, right? It's been done in partnership with the Jamaica Union of Tertiary Students and the Youth Advisory Council. Essentially, we want to have discussion around mental health, how it is that it is impacting young persons, and how going forward, as we talk about evolving, how it is that we can broaden the perspective that young persons and just persons on a whole have where mental health is concerned. Right now, mental health is oftentimes treated as just persons who have, you know, mad people, etc., unsound mind, etc. But that is not necessarily the case. And in our school system currently, it's almost seems like it's a peripheral item to the curriculum. It's not fixed within. So you go to the guidance counselor if you feel a particular way, if you want to talk about something. How the perspective that we have of mental health and, you know, mental health inclusion into the curriculum, it should be something that is mandatory. You know, so just as though you have health and family life, you know, that's something that schools will have every week or every other week, etc. At least have a component within that we can have young persons talk about the issues that they're facing, how it is that these things are affecting them, etc. It's important to have those discussions. You know, just to digress a little bit, still related though, I'm seeing where some videos today of some of the young persons, toddlers, you know, pre-K kids going back to school, etc., masked up and everything. However, there was something strange that I saw about the video. These young persons, for the first time, they're going to school. So my coworker showed me the video of her son going to school. The very first time since he started school, he's always been doing it virtually. And that's one of the things that I think we oftentimes don't recognize, that they are young persons who started school, because this thing has been with us for nearly 2 years, who have started school and have never seen a physical classroom up until today. Many of them, some of them still have yet to see a physical classroom because of other constraints and reservations that the ministry might have regarding those spaces. And if it is that we're not doing what it takes to get these young persons back into those spaces, it's going to have a certain impact on them. Because in that video that I saw today, there's this one young man who was hopping and jumping around the place and he was fine, but everybody else was literally in their seat in a corner. And if anybody have ever gone to a kindergarten, pre-K, you know that despite the teacher's best efforts sometimes, these kids are almost always about the place and so forth. And it's almost as though she had to be pumping them to interact and so forth. And so we think about mental health and how this thing has been affecting persons. That is one of the perspectives that we need to see how it's affecting our young persons who've never been into a classroom before. And this is the first time, and so they don't even know how to interact with their peers outside of, you know, a digital space.
So thank you for raising that point, because as you mentioned it,
you see why it's co-chair of Youth Advisory Council.
Yes, excellent, because that point is so important, that some kids actually were born into the digital learning, and that is some, I love that point. Thank you so much for bringing that up, because that definitely needs to be something that we talk about. Now, Dr. Ennis touched a little bit. I know we have a forum separately for mental health, but I just wanted to know if you are seeing similar instances of, you know, mental challenges among young people in particular, as it relates to the vaccine and pandemic.
Yes, indeed. So our hotline, which was established just during COVID to try and capture and to help young persons who are having challenges, those calls have just skyrocketed. And these adolescents are depressed, they're anxious, they have challenges with abuse, physical abuse, mental abuse, sexual abuse, because they are home in a space that is not conducive to any enrichment of the person and personality at all. Our calls go 24/24. You know, you can hear how scared they are when they speak. They're so unsure of what tomorrow may bring. It really is heartrending to hear these young persons when they call in. So we do know that this kind of situation, this living that we're up to, is not conducive to proper development of our young persons. And really, we must do everything in our powers to get back to some sort of normal life, because the impact is going to be devastating. And of course, it is going to take so long for us to do any sort of damage control.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ennis. So I'm bringing in Mr. Hyman for, just to round off this youth-specific segment. But what would you like the messaging to look like as it relates to this youth vaccination campaign? What would you like the messaging to be? Because what I've come to realize is that a lot of times we say, get vaccinated, and after a while, persons shut off their ears and they stop listening because they feel like you're kind of forcing the narrative onto them. So how would you want the messages to be crafted to encourage young people to not just get vaccinated for themselves, but get vaccinated for their family members, their community members? How would you like that to be crafted, Mr. Hyman?
Well, by letting them know that this is the only way to get back to the life which they like. As I would have said earlier, no student is really a fan of virtual school, right? And the only way to get back to the face-to-face modality is by taking the vaccine, right? So by ensuring that students understand that is the way to get back to the modality that they like, then I'm sure that more students will rush for the opportunity.
All right, thank you so much. So we know the young people want to go to their movies, they want to go to their parties once entertainment reopens, but vaccination is a part of that. So we're encouraging everyone to go out there and get vaccinated. Now, Minister Morgan, I had a question here coming in for you. My apologies, technical difficulties. All right, so it says, is there a policy that workplaces should adhere to revaccination for employees, and in particular the ministry?
I don't know if that is a question.
Is that for you?
Not workplace vaccination policy. I mean, the government does not have the government has yet to decide on a workplace vaccination policy. I think there are private sector companies who have made decisions on that. Those matters are before the courts. So I cannot pronounce on that until the government decides what their policy is that relates. The one policy we have is to encourage every single Jamaican. The vaccines are available, the vaccines are safe, get vaccinated. There's no excuse anymore. Yes. All the facts have been established. I was in Havendale on Saturday, and the vaccination bus was parked right across from Pizza Hut. Oh. And there are a couple, I don't know if Dr. Ennis would tell us, I think there were more than 100 people there in line waiting to be vaccinated. So people want to be vaccinated, and people are, even though the numbers are going down, a lot of people want to get vaccinated. How much was it, Dr. Ennis?
We did 316 in Havendale at the plaza.
At the plaza.
At the plaza, wow.
You know, and so the ministry is now giving people the vaccination where they live. They're doing house to house, they're going into schools, they're permanent sites, they're going into the small communities. Yes. And if we continue doing this, I suspect that as we move forward, things will get normalized. So just get vaccinated, no?
Yes. All right, thank you all so much. So we're really into the question and answer segment now, because we do have more persons who are watching on social media submitting their questions, and we're definitely going to try and answer them to debunk some of the myths and state some of the facts about the COVID-19 vaccine. So I have this one here coming in from YouTube, and Dr. Ennis, I'll ask you this one. What are the side effects associated with the vaccines, and what is the protocol established to deal with the vaccine injuries?
So there are two categories of side effects. The common run-of-the-mill ones that happen to possibly more than 1 in 10 persons, such as pain at the injection site, feeling extremely tired, persons tend to sleep, they may have joint and muscle pain, they can have a little bit of stomach upset. And then you have other symptoms that would happen, possibly 1 in 10 persons, and that would include the flu-like symptoms now. So that's the cough, the sore throat, the headache, and a little less common would be dizziness. Some persons may get a rash. They may have what we call wax and cannon all over the body, which is the enlarged lymph nodes. So those are the common side effects. And of course, those usually last for about 24 to 48 hours. If you're very, very unfortunate, it might last you 72 hours. Now, that sort of discomfort that persons feel, they should really understand that it's a good thing. Now, how am I saying that? Discomfort and good. But yes, it's a good thing because it is telling us that our bodies have recognized the vaccine as foreign, and the priming and that generation of antibodies have started. So that's that set. Then we have the very rare side effects. And when I say rare, it's almost like as rare as hen's teeth. So most vaccines under normal circumstances you'd have, or rare instances being like 1 in every million, or 1 in every 2 to 3 million. That's when you get a really bad event. So the bad events that have been noted with AstraZeneca, we know that persons may get blood clots, but we have to look at the statistics. So what it is now is that 1 person in every 250,000 persons may get a blood clot. Now, again, I'm going to ask everybody to do the math with me. So if all 3 million of us in Jamaica, every last one of us took the AstraZeneca vaccine, for example, about 12 of us may get a blood clot. Now, when you look at those numbers, the benefits of taking the vaccine far, far outweighs the risk, and we can treat. Now, we're talking about students, so let's get around to the Pfizer vaccine, which we have. So one of the rare side effects noted with the Pfizer vaccine is what we call myocarditis and pericarditis. That is inflammation of the muscle of the heart as well as the tissues around the heart. They get inflamed. And again, we are seeing it about 674 persons we saw in about 2 billion persons who took that vaccine. Again, very, very rare. With Johnson & Johnson, we get something called Guillain-Barré syndrome. Now, what is important in Guillain-Barré is that you get paralysis, and of course, the muscle that we would be concerned about would be the respiratory muscle. If that muscle is paralyzed, then you would need ventilatory support. What's the statistics? About 200 persons was noted or were noted to have that condition out of 12,800,000 persons. Again, very rare. Now, I want to put the point in that COVID, the disease COVID, can cause clots. It can cause myocarditis, pericarditis, and it can also cause Guillain-Barré. And the incidence of getting those illnesses from COVID is much higher than getting those rare side effects from the vaccines. So those are pretty much what we're seeing. Oh, I missed out on anaphylaxis. Anaphylaxis is a severe allergic reaction that persons get, and usually once you get that kind of allergic reaction, we don't administer the vaccine to you again. So in our over 1 million persons that we have given the vaccines to here in country, we have had 4 severe allergic reactions, and they're all better now.
Okay, good. Thank you, Dr. Ennis. Now, this one, I know I was listening very keenly, but this, I know you kind of answered it, but I'm going to ask the question anyways. Is it true that the vaccine may cause impotence or issues with conceiving?
That's a flat no. No, no, no. And there's a science behind it. And, you know, in the early days, I would speak a lot to the science. The fact that the spike protein doesn't have any sort of relationship with the syncytin 1 protein in placenta. So I would speak a lot to the science, but I've moved away from speaking to the science because we can observe. So there are lots of persons who were in the phases of the trials when this vaccine started that have had children. And I've moved away from even the trials now. I am right here in Jamaica, where persons who took their vaccine in March came back for the second dose and they came back pregnant. So, you know, we can put that to rest. But again, more science. So studies have been conducted. I know one was published in Nature, which of course is a reputable medical journal. And it spoke to about 30,000 persons who were pregnant and they had no challenges with their placenta. They had no premature deliveries, and they had nothing wrong with their babies. So the business of infertility, the business of impotence, the business of congenital abnormalities to your babies, that's a no-no, flat no for that.
All right, thank you, Dr. Ennis. Well, I know you're not surprised. A lot of the questions are medical. So the next question I have is, are booster shots needed after getting your second jab? And I'll just throw in the other question, which says, has the ministry made any decision on mixing vaccines? That's two questions there for you. So booster shots and mixing of vaccines.
I guess my internet was very unstable, so I missed your question. My apologies.
Okay, that's all right. So I was asking, this is from a YouTuber. It says, are booster shots needed after getting your second jab? And the other question I had is, has the ministry made a decision on mixing vaccines?
Okay, so let me go with the second one first. The decision on mixing has not been made as yet. We are looking at the evidence, and we recognize that some countries have started and small studies have taken place, and it is looking positive, like it may happen. But larger studies are required. And of course, we are guided by the World Health Organization, and mixing of doses is not quite with us as yet.
Okay, thank you. And finally, Karine Richieberg wants to know when students can start receiving their first shots again.
So boosters, with the business of boosters, the interim guidelines have come out, and specific persons are going to receive a third dose. Now, this is an expansion of the primary series. So the primary series in any vaccine would be the first set that you receive. So for the AstraZeneca, it's 2 doses, first dose, second dose, 8 to 12 weeks apart. That's the primary series. But what has been shown is that persons who are immunocompromised, so their immune system, which is that system that helps to keep us safe, it fights germs. Now, that system has to be up there, full 100. Now, in persons who are immunocompromised, that system is nowhere near full 100. It's can be very low. And those persons now remain susceptible to the virus. And therefore, the recommendation is for an extension or an expansion of the primary series, giving them a third dose. So it's only those persons at this time. And those persons include persons with severe cancers, persons on chemotherapeutic agents, persons on immunosuppressive agents, medications that lower your immune system, persons with HIV who have a very low, what we call CD4 count, persons who have had transplant or about to get a transplant. So all of those persons, there are a specific group of persons that are immunocompromised that will get that third dose.
All right, thank you, Dr. Ennis. Oh, the other question I had was just to state the date so that students can now start receiving their first dose.
It started today. It started today. So students can continue to get their first dose. Of course, the partnership with the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information is strong. So we're encouraging all students, the parents, to just make contact with the schools so you'll know where the vaccination sites are, those central sites that the satellite schools will be going into. And of course, you have our routine vaccination sites at our health facilities.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Ennis, for answering those questions. And while you were responding, there was a student who commented, giving their suggestion, and they said, I suggest we go house to house with the vaccine in an igloo. The worst case, a household may say no, but I want us to go back to non-curfew days and regular programming. So they're coming directly from our youth. They want us to get vaccinated. They need us to get back to life. So thank you so much, Dr. Ennis, for joining us to give us the medical perspective on the vaccine. Now, I'm just going to ask for each of my panelists to give just a final word on pretty much, your encouragement for you to get vaccinated, why it's important, and why you believe that that's the way we're going to go to get back to life. So I'll start with Minister, actually no, Minister Moore, I want you to wrap up for me, because So I'm actually going to go back now to Mr. Hyman. So Mr. Hyman, just to give you 2 cents, your word of encouragement to students, to young people, youth overall, as to, why you believe they need to get vaccinated.
Yeah, well, my fellow youth, we need to get vaccinated because it is the way to get back on track. Get back on track to head first into our future, right? We're being held back in this virtual space. One of the main reasons is because not all of us are suited to this online modality, right? The majority of us are able to work properly in the face-to-face zone. So if it is that we want to get back to that sense of normality, get vaccinated, because that is the way to go. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Hyman, and continue the great work that you're doing with the National Secondary Students Council. We appreciate your advocacy, and we do hope that your messaging reaches those students to get vaccinated. Thank you so much for being here. All right, so I'll hear the words of Mr. Levy, National Youth Advisory Council of Jamaica.
All right, just that mainly, I think just the general mindset of all our young people needs to steal a phrase, evolve from that of 2020, when this virus first kind of came out locally. We've been battling this for some time now, and we've seen the drastic impact that it has had, not only on the economy, but also on, the mental and, socio-economic impacts that it has had on other young persons and other sectors. We really need to get back to health now. It's time for us to get back to normal. We talk about increases in several things going on. Young people love them KFC. You realize 5 times from the year started gone up. Prices and everything going up. Salaries can't really budge very much because the companies are feeling the pinch. But mainly we have to think about the long-term impact. And I've said it time and again, this is the second major blow that young persons have had in their lifetime in terms of Gen Z, and when we look at persons in who's born since the 21st century. The first was in 08, 09 with the economic recession. This is the other major global shock in our lifetimes. And it comes with a price. And if it is that when you get to, ministers level in life, you want to have less problems and you want to have the resources to get to do what you need to do, then it's best that we get over this hurdle sooner rather than later. So get vaccinated so we can get back to health.
Nice. You heard it there from the co-chair of the National Youth Advisory Council of Jamaica, Mr. Orville Levy. Thank you so much, Orville, for being here with us. And finally, we'll hear from Minister of State in the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information, Robert Nestor Morgan.
Thank you, Brittany. 1 billion people, or 1 billion doses of vaccines have been distributed in India. Can you hear me? Should I continue? 1 billion doses of vaccines have been distributed in India. Millions of vaccines have been distributed in the United States. Over 1 billion doses of vaccines have been distributed in China. We in Jamaica have the opportunity of changing the trajectory of vaccination and ensure that we get back to normal as quickly as possible. The biggest impact of the COVID pandemic has been on young people. Many of you have not gone to school. Many of you have been disconnected from your friends. Many of you have been suffering from serious mental challenges because of that disconnection. When we look at the other side, there are many kids who need help, who depended on the school system for assistance, who no longer have access to it. There is a solution. It's a simple solution. The facts have been established. Everybody knows what the facts are. Or if you don't know what the facts are, you have easy access to the facts. You can Google it. You can go on the Ministry of Health's pages. You can go on the Ministry of Health's social media or their website. You can send a message to Dr. Ennis. The facts are there, they're established. No fake news should be able to convince our bright young people of Jamaica who are going to lead our future that the vaccines are not better than getting COVID. Remember, we ran out of oxygen. We ran out of hospital beds. Our grandparents died, our grandfathers died. We could not hug our old people because we may have been infected. The solution to our problem is to get vaccinated. And the country is depending on young people to lead the way, the generation that is going to transform Jamaica. So I'm asking you, if you are vaccine hesitant, evolve your thinking. If you're vaccine resistant, evolve your thinking and chart a new course for your family and set an example for your community so you can lead them to a better day. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Minister. I am inspired, yes, and I hope those who are listening and those who aren't listening, please to spread the word to your peer circles, family members, everybody, get vaccinated. Now I'm going to take the opportunity to thank once again Dr. Melody Ennis from the Ministry of Health and Wellness, Director of Family Health Services. Thank you so much for being here, as well as Acting Chief Education Officer from the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information, Dr. Kassan Troop, who also joined us. Again, thanks as well to Javon Hyman, Vice President of the National Secondary Students Council for Region 1, and of course my two gentlemen here, Mr. Levy and Honorable Minister Morgan. Thank you all. Once again, I want to also thank our sponsors, the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information, Ministry of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sports, Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, Heart NSTA Trust, PAC, Proven JA, JN Group, DIA, ILE, and PA Benjamin Manufacturing Companies. So remember, the theme for this year is evolve. So evolve your mindset, get vaccinated, and let's get back to life. My name was Brittany Clark, and I was your host for this evening. Take care.